you for everyone who's joining us. So welcome to day 2 of the Art of Collaboration Summit. Woo-hoo! Woo-hoo! I'm KeeKee Cornelious. Pat will start us off. You know, I just like to get in here and say, yeah, I'm so happy to see you all. It makes me so happy. I'm on the I hope you're morning people. I know it's not fair because it's 4 o'clock here in Spain, and you know I've had a jump start on you. Okay, I had a jump start on you.
I'm still waking up.
Yay! Yay!
With KeeKee, you don't need a cup of coffee.
I got you.
She is
That's awesome.
a jolt in our morning. Well, welcome everyone. Are you ready to leverage your time, your energy, and your resources to make 2018 a better and bigger year? Then you've come to the right place. This is session 2 of the Art of Collaboration Summit. And I am joined here with 4 fabulous women who are very successful in collaborating in their own way. Today, we are talking about mindset. And this is so critical, isn't it, KeeKee, when it comes to collaborations?
Yes, it is. Are you letting me off the chain? Is she letting me off the chain? Yes, it is. Okay, so if anyone who doesn't know, Pat is responsible for keeping KeeKee on task and on schedule, because we really want to honor the hour that we've invited everyone to come in to speak with us with. But yes, mindset is so important in collaborating and joining your business with other businesses. And I can't wait to get into today's subject. But I know before we get started, I want everyone to introduce themselves just like real short and quick, because I know with the way that we ask questions and the way it went yesterday, you are going to totally be able to share your stories, because it's in our stories that people really get to know us and how we've actually made this collaboration thing come to life. So I'm KeeKee Cornelious, business coach and digital nomad, and I help women build businesses they can run from anywhere. Anywhere, people.
Anywhere, and she is living truth of that. And I'm Pat Alva-Green. I'm a business coach, and I help people I work with women, and I help them get that clarity that they need in order to make that jump to the next level. I take them from where they are and from where they want to be, and in a way that honors who they are. And what I like to do now is I'd like to turn it over to Chris, and I'd like her to introduce herself.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Chris Prochaska, and I'm just waking up this morning. I'm like, oh God, it's early. And I do some business coaching. I work with CEOs, and I also work with entrepreneurs, and I also do some work with corporations and teams, and helping people to create psychologically safe spaces, emotional intelligence, and human design. So I work with people to help them figure out who needs to be on the right team, how do you work together, and then how, if you're an entrepreneur, how do you bring your genius to the world based on your design, your soul design and your human design. So yeah.
Awesome. Now I'd like to move down to Michelle.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, so excited to be here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. I am Michelle Edelin. I am the excellence engineer. I work primarily with women, and I say primarily because I have some male clients.
You lucky men.
Actually. But I work primarily with women, and I help you to move from just existing in life to actually excelling. And I do that by helping you to align your God design, your God-given design and purpose with what it is that you are doing, so that you can move forward with intention, move forward with momentum, with purpose, with a plan. So that's why I'm the excellence engineer. I help you to engineer a more excellent life, so that you can get all of the things out of life that you want, as well as impact the people around you. That's when you get to the sweet spot, the place of excellence, when you can impact those people around you.
Yay. All right. Thank you. Wow. We'll get some powerful women on board. And Bonnie, we enjoyed Bonnie's energy yesterday. And Bonnie, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bonnie McDermott, and my business is called Wordsmith Inc. Excuse me. I'm really pleased to be here with everybody today. My business is really about helping you shine. That is, I'm in the communications business, and I help entrepreneurs and mostly women to buff and polish and strategize their communications in such a way that they present themselves in the very best way possible, and then they reach their audience with really relevant and timely messaging. So,
Awesome. So thank you. Amazing women. We have great stories to hear from these ladies on the panel. And before we get started, I wanted to get everybody on the same page as to what are we working with when it comes to mindset. And mindset is a set of thoughts and beliefs that shape your thought habits. And your habits are what you do, think, and feel. So mindset becomes a very critical part when it comes to collaboration. And KeeKee and I have learned on this project how important mindset is and being open and having a growth mindset that allows you to be flexible and open and willing to try new and different things.
Right.
So I'm going to start with the first question, and this is a good question. So the first question is, what mindset is necessary when going into the joint ventures that you've been working on? And I'd like to go ahead and start with Chris.
Oh, awesome. I love this question. So to me, you have to know who you are, and you have to, excuse me, I'm starting to get a little cold, so my throat is going out. You have to know who you are and what you bring to the table, because if you don't, you'll get in a competition, or you could get in competition mode, and that feeling of compare and despair with other people. But also, if you don't know who you are and what you're bringing to the table, you won't know where you fit. And that part is so essential, because if you do know, like, hey, this is what I bring to the table, this is what I'm passionate about, this is how I do it, this is how I best do it, right? Like this is, we don't know, I don't have no idea what the questions are, right, coming into it, but I do know that I can think on my feet, right? So having to know, just understanding those types of things about yourself is absolutely essential. That way you can come in and be confident and share your genius, be your contribution, without having to be like, oh my God, how do I stand up? And I think that that's a really big thing with women, is we have this like, well, where do I fit in? Where do I fit in? And we have this sense of competition. Some folks do, and it's subconscious. Mm-hmm. So I think that knowing yourself and knowing what your gifts are and what you bring to the table and how you best work are absolutely essential to having a great collaboration.
Okay. And I love what your last sentence there is, how you best work, right?
Yeah.
We have different rhythms. KeeKee has a different rhythm of working. I have a different rhythm of working. I'm a project manager. I'm anal about putting down the tasks and know what's going to take from A to Z and managing risk. And so I come in with knowing that that's my mode of operation. And I love KeeKee because she is who she is. And KeeKee,
let's flow. It's
come on, girl.
KeeKee's a bird or a fish. She's just floating through the air or the water. Like, okay, what do we do now next? Because I'm still in dream world. I'm still in dream world every day. But okay, Pat, we were so excited to get started that I really want to back it up a little bit, because I want to talk about what we're talking about this week, like the meat and the nitty gritty of what's really going on here. Is that we are a group of women who got together and decided to be partners in a movement, because we have noticed or heard in the entrepreneurial space that women don't support other women in business. And we wanted to be a model for that being just a flat out lie. We wanted to prove it. We wanted to show it. We didn't want to just talk about it. We're being about it this week, all this week. So we're talking about joint ventures. So every topic that you come to and show up this week, whether it be live or on the replay, we are talking from the point of doing joint venture partnerships, collaborations, any type of business deal that you come together with another person in your business and you collectively co-create something that helps more people. So I just wanted to get that in the way so that when someone comes on, they don't like mindset around what? Mindset around connecting your business, your vision, and your goal with another individual. So that's what we're talking about. And I love that you said that, Chris. Know who you are and what you bring to the table. That is like the biggest thing. And I
so many people don't. They
right?
don't. I mean, I didn't. You know, I thought I knew for many years, and I wanted to do those things or be those things, but it was through trial and error, and it was through figuring out who I'm not and who I don't want to work with and how I don't want to work sometimes. So, you know, there's that. But I think that there's a way to come in there, and if you do have those, you have some awareness that.
Exactly.
That level of clarity. And Michelle, have you experienced how important that level of clarity and knowing who you are has helped you in your joint ventures?
Absolutely. Without clarity, you really are just kind of throwing everything up against the wall to see what sticks. And the danger in that is that we as really driven, really motivated women with entrepreneurial spirits, we are really good at a lot of different things, but just because you're really good at something, it doesn't mean that that's your place of excellence. That is where you should flow in excellence at that moment. And so you have to kind of pull yourself back sometimes and say, okay, what is it that I am to do today or for this quarter or for this season in my life? And that's where that clarity comes in. And you got to dig deep inside of you and find that clarity. Because if you don't, it's just like Chris said, you may find yourself trying to connect with and attach to people that really are not your wheelhouse, so to speak. And then you get frustrated, you get irritated, and you want to throw your hands up in exasperation. And that's not good for either party. And so everybody leaves a little wounded. I mean, wounded is a strong word, but leaves a little less whole. How about if I say it that way? And that doesn't benefit anybody. Actually, it perpetuates what KeeKee said, that we are here to dispel. It perpetuates that myth that we as women cannot work together and we can't get along. Look at us. We don't all look alike even. But look at how we are able to come together. And it's because we each know what we bring to the table.
Exactly.
Right. And having that level of clarity and knowing what your gifts are determines where you want a joint venture.
Yes.
Those partners are around us all the time. And it's determining what is your mindset? What is it that you specifically want to joint venture on?
Right.
Yes.
And when you know who you are and you know what your strengths are, then you look for a partner that will round yourself out, your strengths, so that there's a good match of strengths and weaknesses that balance out really well, that you all are very clear about where you're going.
Right.
Absolutely. And if I could add one other thing, it also, the clarity helps you to be comfortable in your skin. And the reason it's so important to be comfortable in your skin is because when you joint venture with someone, your skin is going to touch their skin. And you've got to be comfortable in your own skin so that you're not trying to become a clone or a mini me of who you JV with.
Right.
And that to me is even deeper than the whole spirit of comparison and competition, is that you just literally try become just a miniature version of whoever you're JVing with, and then you lose who you are.
Right. I think it's important to put in here, Pat, is that when you're thinking about the mindset of it, when we're thinking about not competing, is that you are connected with people who really complete you.
Yes.
Anything I want to, because I don't know everything that I don't know, but I know people who know stuff. So it's like, okay, what can you bring to the table for me in about collaborations? Because I know that it's not just the way that we all got together, because I really wanted to connect with a whole bunch of women who knew something about collaboration, who had some experience in it just like I had, and who felt the same way I did about it. Is that it's a lie. We do collaborate. We love to collaborate. Let's do this, KeeKee, and let's show the women that it can be done. So it's really about finding people who complete you in any area that you want to be working in, whether it be, you know, you want to affect homelessness in a whole nother country, then you connect with women who are also doing that same thing, or who want to do that same thing, or who have that goal. Because I think at the end of the day, when you're collaborating and making partnerships, it's so that you can expand your reach further than you could ever do alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Further than you could ever do alone.
And that is true. Collective consciousness really makes a big difference. And so I want to move over to Bonnie. Bonnie, tell us what your experience has been in mindset, and how it's played in the success of the collaborations that you're involved in.
The way I approach business, and this is so important to get away from that whole competitiveness issue, that is that there is plenty of business for everybody. And we said that yesterday, but I think it bears repeating actually every single day this week, because there is plenty of business for everybody. So that being said, the other piece of my mindset is that I'm kind of an idea machine. When I get next to people who have, sets of skills that intrigue me and that I think would be valuable to my clients, I just start churning out ideas. So I see opportunity everywhere, probably too much so. So editing has to be really important here. So those two things are really, really principle in my mindset. That is, there's enough business for everybody, and there are opportunities everywhere if we just want to get creative.
I love that.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too. Yes. And it makes me think of, you never know when you go to networking events, you never know who's sitting next to you and what that relationship could be or what it could turn out to. There are no mistakes, right? And that makes me think of, that gets me thinking of when you said human design, Chris. I remember when we were in Utah and you put us all in the,
in the groups. So,
in the groups. And Pat, I think you and I ended up in the same group.
Yeah.
And we were in the same hotel room. Just by happenstance, we ended up sharing a room and we got to know each other. But then we really got to know each other. And this is like when it's like, I really want to be with, we're like, we got something together. We can do something. Let's do something. So I get totally what you get, Bonnie. Like, you get next to people and it's like, you can feel them like, I really want to work with her. How can we do this? So this is exciting. Okay. Okay.
And the thing that you bring in what you just said is there is a certain sense of intuition.
Oh, huge.
Yes.
That
absolutely.
I think plays a big part in your business and in joint ventures, because you can feel in your gut whether it's the right person to work with or it's the right project. And it's important to listen to that gut.
Yes.
You can pay attention to your head all you want, but at the end of the day, you've got to listen to your gut and your heart, because this is really where the message, where you resonate with really the direction that you need to go and what your body is telling you in regards to opportunities. Has anybody really, how can you all relate to that statement?
Oh my God, this one.
I was gonna say Chris has
Lord
it.
have
She has-
mercy. Okay, hold on to your butts, because here we go. No, I have so many colleagues, and including myself, this whole bit of your intuition and then expectation. I think that there's two things there. One is that you have to have be clear about what your expectations are going into these things. I think it's very easy to be like, oh my God, and be all starry eyed. And we could talk about that in a minute. But the intuition, hands down, every single time that I was like, boy, this looks great on paper, and this person seems really cool, or this group or this thing that I should do that, but my gut, like I had this feeling, or my spidey sense. I got as my kids say, the hibby-a-jibbies. It's like there's something here that just it's not jiving, but you want it so bad. It's like you override that feeling. And I mean, just thinking about a colleague of mine who we have these discussions, like, God, it happened again. She's like, but I knew. And I was like, I know. It's like you go into it and you think, this feels really good, but something's off. Yeah. And then you find out what that off is. And now that can be great. It can be an awesome learning experience. Again, it's part of the process of figuring out, that doesn't work for me. And guess what? My intuition is on board. It's working. There's nothing wrong with it. Right. I just overrode it. And I think that is so essential. I mean, just going into a group once where it looked great on paper, and it looked great, like the group of women it was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But there was something that fell off, and it kept being off, but I kept overriding it. And by the time it blew up, it was, I could only, I wanted to blame them, but it was like, you know what? I knew, and I didn't say something. And that led to, it not ending well. And that, and I beat myself up about that, but I was, that whole, you got to untie all that. But man, if you just listen to your intuition in the beginning and check in and ask questions,
right. Some people are just so cool to be around that you really want to work with them. And it's just like, it seems like that's a no-brainer. Like, oh, they seem to do really cool things. Oh, I think I really love that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, what was that? What did they do wrong? Like, oh, I don't like that either. But then you're right. But so yesterday, this makes me think of, I think all week we're going to be talking about that questionnaire you sent me, Pat, when we decided to work together.
And for those online, this was a questionnaire on how we vet partners going forward. And this is information that you will get when you go to the workshop on January 27th, is what do you do to vet, to make sure that you're working with the right women?
So one of the things that Pat does is she sends the women who want to work with her a questionnaire. So I can just imagine that if the questions that I would have sent her back in that questionnaire would have raised like multiple red flags, she would have come back to me and say, KeeKee, I don't think this is a good fit. We're not going to work together. So at the end, I think it's a good idea to figure out, how do you, in your own way, vet and talk to the people that you want to work with. For me, it's about a conversation. I hear I'm like, when you guys know, you were on the phone with me, so I'm asking questions, but really I'm, at the end of the day, to the root of our conversations, I wanted to get to know you. And everything in me tells me whether you are someone I would really love to work with, or you're really something. It's like I have this discernment. I'm literally attracted to you or repelled. And sometimes I think I like everyone, but I actually had a call last week with someone, and I'm still like, I just don't like her.
I think it's important to acknowledge that, KeeKee, because I think as women, we have this thing like, I want to be nice to everyone and I want to be kind. And in human design, I'd look at it and say, we push each other's buttons, and it's just energy. And we make a story up about it. But, some people, they just don't jive, just don't, period. And there's nothing there's no story around it. It just energetically not a fit.
Yeah, but it feels so weird. Like
it does feel weird.
It's like because I tried making up a story like for 20, like maybe 12 to 24 hours afterwards. I was trying to figure out like what is it like, but it was just like, and finally I just had to say it because she just didn't rub me right on the phone. It's like, oh, I get to not like people too? Oh, okay.
Yes.
And that's okay. And I'm okay with that. But it is the weirdest feeling. I think that when we're thinking about the mindset, and especially with getting together and working with people, it's important. It's
Very.
important. And even if, yeah.
And the thing about, we're working specifically with showcasing women and how we have the ability to absolutely be very successful in joint ventures,
Right.
is that women have a strong sense of intuition, even more than men do. And the thing is that we need to learn how to honor that.
Yeah.
Honor that sense of intuition so that it works for us.
Right.
Yeah, as we move forward, because we're gonna have to work with a lot of different women until we find that one match.
Right.
And it's a time thing, it's an energy thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Bonnie, I'm sure you have a story that you can relate to that talks about that.
I was actually writing down the word boundaries. Because this is one of those things. It goes along with vetting people. It goes along with people rubbing you the wrong way. And in my life, because I'm Midwest nice or Minnesota nice. It took me a while to learn how to have boundaries and how to ensure that my clients honored those boundaries and my collaborators honored those boundaries.
Yeah.
And just the same dynamic as you all have been talking about, you get the phone call and it's not rubbing you the right way, or they're asking for things that aren't in a timeline that is
unreasonable.
Yes, unreasonable. I was going to say irrational.
That too.
One of my clients is particularly irrational. She has no idea how long things take to get done. Bless her heart. I've been working with her for 20 years. But yes, boundaries are really important to establish up front, both on a personal basis and on the project basis. Can you agree on how things are going to go? That may be moving into your next question, Pat.
Well, before you leave boundaries out, I want you to give us some examples of some boundaries that you use, that you've seen other women use, so that women get an idea what it is when we're talking about boundaries.
Okay. Some of my clients treat me as a vendor. They put in a quarter and out comes some marketing material or a marketing plan or communication plan. So, it's important for me up front to establish what the boundaries are. Here's how long this is going to take. There's going to be X number of conversations between us, so we're on the same page. So establishing the principles, if you will, of the project, what a reasonable timeline is going to be. So it's a matter of setting up the proper expectations in their mind. Then when another example is my own work hours. I have used to take calls at 8 o'clock at night or during dinner, and no more. That's over, folks. So I'm out of the office at 5 as far as any clients are concerned. And I don't take calls anymore. I text them back and say, I'll talk to you tomorrow. What's a good time?
Awesome.
Those are two things that they're so obvious, but I think in my efforts to secure business and to please my clients, I like to accommodate my clients as much as possible, but I've been trapped by those desires. So it's been very important, and it's worked great to have boundaries.
It's
They respect them once you say it.
Necessary. Thank you. That's a great story, great examples. So KeeKee, I want to take a moment here. Do we have any questions that have come up as you've been monitoring the chat box that deal with boundaries, mindset, intuition, expectations?
So one of the questions that came in is about how do you, like we're talking, they said, how do you decide like, okay, my tuition isn't working, KeeKee, my tuition is broken. How do I get out of, how do I get, let me just read it. My tuition is broken, KeeKee. How do I get out of a situation where I know I shouldn't be in this collaboration? So.
Well, I'd love to hear from Michelle, but I definitely have. I could speak to that.
Okay, no pressure here.
Yeah. What do you do, Michelle?
So, depending on the legalities of the JV. Mm-hmm. So, I am always a proponent of approaching it from that standpoint first, just to make sure that you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's from a legal perspective. Mm-hmm. So look at what you've signed to become a part of the joint venture and what your commitment is, your legal commitment is to them and their legal commitment to you. Now, once you have looked at that and you see your way clear legally to remove yourself from that situation, then I say be totally honest and say that this is a relationship, a joint venture, a partnership, collaboration, whatever you want to call it, that isn't working for me, and maybe give an example or two or a reason or two of why it's not working for you, and say I need to remove myself from this JV.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, make sure that you do everything you can to leave in a way that leaves everyone whole.
Yeah.
Both you and them to the best of your ability. But if you have just got to get out of it, then you got to get out of it.
Yep. So, and more clarification, it's a contract that she's into, but the person, so she is running an event. The person is not doing what they said that they were going to do in the event. So I would see this as being like something like when we got together, right? I promised you all certain things. I'm going to post on my social media. I'm going to tag you. I'm going to let people know that you're working with me. But so if she's not getting these things. So if you just imagine, right? If we got together in this partnership and then all of a sudden you show up today, but I haven't done anything before today to tell anyone that we were going to be here. Like, KeeKee, what's up? What's up? So, okay, Chris, with that in mind, what else did you have to say?
Well, I think definitely the legal. I think that's a great point, Michelle. And it's, so I've been doing all these interviews on betrayal and self-betrayal, like situations where, because it can feel like that, right? It can feel like, oh, they said this, it was supposed to be this, and it's not that. And I think that this comes back to the expectations. So if you're clear about what the expectations are, and I will be the first to admit that, and I just learned this the very, very hard way, which is to have all these expectations and not be transparent with myself about what they were. They were assumptions that, oh, I'm going to share this idea in the group and everybody in the group is going to be like, wow, that's a great idea. You should go do that. Instead of saying, oh, that's a great idea. I think I'll go do that. It was like those types of things where and then not saying anything. So I think it's like as soon as you start to see this is going off the rails a little bit, I think women, when it comes back to trusting our intuition, we look at it and say like, I need hardcore evidence. Your intuition isn't going to give you hello, Chris, by the way, this person, it's not working. It's not like that. It's not like a note or something like that. It is, something's off. And the moment that you start to feel that something is off is you can bring it to the table. Something's not, do you need more information? What's going on? And bringing it up. And for me, that was the hardest part, was that I kept my intuition and my whole body. I was having whole body experiences of like, this is not okay, but I didn't say anything. Mm-hmm. And that just circled back on my expectations and my assumptions. And that's the part where I got really stuck in it. And so I think that a betrayal can't happen if there's transparency. I think if we're transparent with ourselves and other people, then it becomes a conversation. People can take offense or not. Right. That's none of your business. But, as long as you're being transparent and trusting those little nudges, they're subtle little nudges, sometimes big 2x4s, but trusting that and just giving voice to it right when you start to feel it. And then it won't blossom into something quite ugly and big.
So Chris, the question comes back is, how did you learn how to have the conversation?
I'm going to tell you, I learned how to have it by not having it. So, I learned when I didn't have it, how ugly it got. And so now I also go into joint ventures with people that I feel like I can have a conversation with. So if I don't feel like I can be honest with someone or transparent with someone, then I tend not to go into those. So that's where it comes back to that intuition and what you were speaking to, KeeKee, about being on the phone and you're asking questions, you're vetting, but what you're really doing when you're asking those questions, because you can't like go to someone and go, hey, have you ever screwed anybody over? Like, have you ever, what I mean? You could, but most people wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I do it all the time. You would be like, most of the time you're asking questions and you're getting your own felt sense of that and ahead of time. And so I think that it's also depending on how tight the collaboration is going to be. I mean, this is a great situation. I'm meeting a bunch of new people right now and it's really fun, but we're not like in bed together financially necessarily, right? Or, signing a contract together where we're going to put money down to do an event together, that type of a thing. And so I think the more legal, as Michelle brought up, the more legally bound you are, the more you have to ask questions and trust that intuition ahead of time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That was good, Pat.
It's so true. And just the important, just the fact that questions are so critical in the discussion. And, what I've learned is that you can have a conversation, and when you're going into a joint venture, I've learned the importance of the 5 whys. You ask why 5 times. Why do you want to go into this joint venture? And then, so why is this important to you? And then keep going until you get to the 5 whys. After the 5th why, you're going to know within you whether it's a match or not.
Right.
And it's a good way also to, if you find that there is things aren't right, you have a problem, is using the 5 whys as a way to peel back the onion and determine where is it that the breakdown occurred.
Right.
So I think that's one tool that that I put on the table in the value of question is the 5 whys. Yes, definitely.
I'd like to add something here. That is that when you're creating something with a colleague, you're creating a joint venture, always put an escape clause in the contract or in your written agreement.
I like that.
It's unlikely that you're going to have a lifelong collaboration. It'll be for a duration of time, for a particular event or so on. And it's so much easier if we have the conversation up front about, okay, under these terms as we will part company, we'll be done with this. And there's no blame. That's just the way it is, that this project has run its course. Our partnership has run its course. You can always say our main objective that we started out with is no longer being met, or there's no longer a need for it. Well, for however you want to structure it, having an escape clause and talking it over up front is very helpful.
Yes. I think a lot of things should be talked about up front, and paying attention to the clues up front, so that you don't get to where you get to a point where you're in the middle and you're thinking, okay, how do I get out of this? How did this go so far? So I think when you're thinking, because we're talking about mindset here today and what goes on in our heads. So if we have questions and doubts in our heads in the beginning, and the questions aren't answered, or the doubts aren't put to rest, then right then there's the point where we just,
I do think that not having an upfront agreement is a real hurdle for joint venture people, because they have had, I can see by the head bobs, we've all had our experiences, and that they weren't very nice, or they're difficult, or what have you. So if I may say it this way, I think as women, it might feel uncomfortable to have a written agreement. It doesn't have to be a big legalese contract or anything else, but it simply can be a list of our expectations and the things that we've talked about already. But I do think if we as women say, okay, let's put on our business hats and make sure that we have something written down, that will enable a more honest discussion up front, and our ability to exit the stage whenever that time comes.
Right. Or to simply have a questionnaire like Pat does, right? Something really simple, so that, and we talked about keeping it simple yesterday, so that you feel good about the collaboration, because at the end of the day, we want them to be win-win for everyone. We don't want any one person in a partnership to feel like they are getting the short end of the stick or the short straw, anything for that matter. We want you to walk away feeling like, oh my God, I want to work with her again, or oh my God, we should work together on this project, or you should be working with such and such, for referrals or what have you. But it has to be win-win, win-win. When we all,
and sometimes part of that win-win means that you need to be flexible.
Yes.
You need to be willing to try something new. That you're open to other ideas as part of the joint venture. It's just being open to the potential growth that you're going to experience by being in that joint venture versus being very fixed and saying it's got to be my way or the highway.
Right.
It's so important that there's a give and take, that there's a dance between the two partners that allow this relationship to create something that's very unique to who you are, and that you need to allow that energy to flow. Like you say, KeeKee, you let the energy flow, and you're very open, and you really feeling that energy within the group and allowing yourself to be flexible.
Oh my goodness, yes. Because I think it comes in the fact that you have to remember, for one, that when either any of us could be, I'm talking for me, because, I went to you guys and said, please help me fulfill this dream of mine, right? But I had to be okay with you putting your input in and having your own opinions and loving those opinions, and being okay with sometimes when Pat says, okay, we need to practice, KeeKee, and then I'm like, I don't want to practice though, Pat, but I'll get on the phone with you. Yes, I'll do it. Because I know that's the way Pat likes to work. And I don't want her to not be her. And it helps me. She keeps me grounded. There is a reason why there are more reasons why Pat and I are together than I even know right now. So I flow with that energy on how we work together and allow her to be who she is. And yes, Carmen, it's a give and a take. It is. It's an elegant dance. It's about being okay with someone having input in your goals and your dreams and listening to those inputs because, you know, 6 minds are better than one.
Mm-hmm.
2 minds are better than one. And it's just being able to be open to those suggestions and knowing where to be closed to those suggestions as well. Because I know we were talking earlier about sometimes we get into where we are into competition, or people turn into mini us's, or you get lost in a partnership. So at the same time, you have to know your boundaries, right? And know that this is who I am. Like, you can't stop me from flying, damn it. I'm going to be like Dory every once in a while. I'm sorry, who are we? Where are we going? Where are we going? I forgot my name again. Pat, who am I? What am I doing? But it's just, it's being okay with just being who you are and allowing you to shine with the person that you're shining with and not getting lost in that. Oh my God, I'm so happy we're having this conversation today.
So I have one question. So some of you probably have had joint ventures with men and or women. So my question is, for those of you who have had joint ventures with men, how are they different? How is the mindset different when you're working with a man versus with a woman?
Well, I didn't end up actually going through with it with this guy because I didn't like the way his energy was. I found him very condescending, but I definitely see where men don't. There's for women, we are all about connection and creating and that intuition and that softness and that emotional connection. We bring that into business in a way that it's a little more personal, I think. And I think that can be great. And I think it's our biggest downfall. So I think there's finding a nice balance between like business and, like Bonnie pointed out, I mean, having this contract and like really laying it out. I think men have an easier time, from my experience, both with my clients and having this conversation with this guy, of going, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're, like laying it out and not taking it personally.
Exactly.
So I think that that's something that, and I see this with my female clients who are in partnership and, like the CEO and the vice president, both being women of this one company that I've been coaching them, and the way they talk about things and don't talk about things, it's like, oh my gosh, ladies, come on, like you're taking it way too personally. So I think that there's something about that connection and emotionality that is our greatest gift. And it is something that absolutely we can totally take a lesson from the men there and not taking things too personally.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Definitely.
I agree. Okay, so we're in our last 10 minutes here. And I'm off the cuff here. So, if Pat pulls me back in, everyone just be okay with it. But I really just want to know, like, what is the biggest lesson that any of you have learned when it comes to creating like win-win? Like when it starts in our head, right? But what is it that in our head makes it like, this is happening? What is do you know what your this is happening point is? I'm going to be honest. I don't know what my this is happening point is. There is a point in a conversation because, like I said, I like to have conversations with the people that I'm partnering with. There's always a point in the conversations I'm expecting it where they just say one thing and I'm like, oh, that's it. She's the one. Mm-hmm. I swear it's off the. I swear it's off the cuff with me. It is. Ah!
Yeah. I think the one thing for me that I ask myself over and over again is, if I'm going into a joint project, how is this really going to move my business forward? And in what way is it going to move my business forward? And how is it lined with my strategy for that year? So those are the questions that I ask myself when that has been an important lesson for me is where does this really fit in my strategy and why would I want to do this? And when I'm not clear with that, then things have not worked.
Right. We have Barrett has her hand up and I want to get her question in air so that we can serve her. So Barrett, can you come on and ask us?
Can you hear me?
I can. I hear you. Hey, Barrett.
Oh, my computer's doing beautiful things this morning. Okay. Well, I think I wrote there earlier, two of those things really struck me. One, I have a collaboration that's working extremely well, certainly with a person who actually introduced me to this.
Yay.
Lancy. And we're just working like we're almost finishing each other's sentences. Hey, I'm doing this, or I did that, or oh, it's like, oh yeah, great, oh yeah. And it's just a joy. It's a pleasure. Mm-hmm. And then the other one, I don't know how to get out of it or what to do, whatever. I'm doing everything. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, I'm literally doing everything because the person said that they had no time for anything. And then to top it off, after telling me that, the person is showing up on lives 2 to 3 times a week in the evenings after work and on the weekends and going for all kinds of things. And I'm sitting here just feeling really like taken aback. And I want to be polite, but I'm up to here. So.
So is it a partnership that you want to continue or you really want to get out of it?
There's an event that's supposed to be taking place and the two of us are sitting faced as the two main faces of the event, and here I am doing everything.
Okay, you have attendees. So the event is happening.
So the event is coming and there's tickets are positioned to be sold and the marketing's underway because I've started the marketing that we had to. Mm-hmm. And I mean, in some things like we had, just the agenda. So it's just moving forward and I'm really taken aback and I want to handle it professionally because I don't like to burn bridges at all. But I just, oh my God, I'm really shocked.
Right.
I'm just shocked and I want to be able to handle it well.
Okay, so I think all of us would agree that a conversation is in order with this person that you're having. See us, if you can't see us, we're all nodding our heads. There is a conversation that needs to be had here. And I would think that there are 2 things that you want to come out of this conversation. One is that an agreement that this person has to carry some type of load. So you need to figure out, Barrett, on your end, what you want to release and release it and let it go. And if she doesn't get it done, if you're going to keep it, if you're going to continue with this event, then you just have to be okay with it not being done so that you're not stressed out. And 2, I don't even know if there's a number 2 because 2 would have to come if there has to be a conversation. Pat, do you have Bonnie, Chris, Michelle, anything different to say?
Let me jump in here. The first thing I would say is renegotiate your financial agreement. If you have a 50-50 split, you need to renegotiate it. That might wake her up, I don't know, but it's completely unfair for you to do all the work and for to split it. So I would really look at that too.
Oh,
Right.
I mean financial agreement in terms of any kind of the profit from the
Right.
event. Well,
Right.
I mean, any profit there would be from ticket sales. I've already decided in my head, I have that. That's me. That's 100% me, because I am. So I don't have a question about that. Believe
Okay,
me.
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in terms of, she would be getting up and she wants to just come now and present. So she would just be presenting so that she could make money at the event. And I'm having a problem with that.
Okay. So does her agreement say that she can sell from your stage?
Well, no, there isn't an agreement that says that she can. So, I mean,
Well, then, and that conversation, I would let her know that she can't. I would make sure that that is clear, that there will be no sales from stage. If I were you, I would just make up a contract right now and send it over, and just at this point, get it in the way. And then depending on how she reacts to that contract, then you decide that, hey, maybe this is just going to be the Barrett show. And if you still want to participate, yes, you can come, but there will be no selling. There will be no selling from the stage.
there are other people involved in the event who I can pull up if I want. I mean,
Yes, then yeah, I would get a contract together and send it over and have a conversation.
Okay.
That is what I would do. Any more
Or
info, ladies?
or you could let her sell from the stage, but you get a percentage. And I think
like that too, Chris.
no, I mean, but you got to be really clear about that ahead of time, because I've definitely been on the side where, you know, the person didn't have that for their event, and then there were, you know, people sold from the stage of this is several different events that I'm thinking of, and they didn't have that in writing, and then they were like, oh my God, look at this person just made all this money and I did all the work.
Right.
And that does not feel good. So it's really, you know, you got to be clear about that. And it's totally fine to say, look, you either no sales from the stage, or if you do, then I get a percentage of those sales. And you have to be, you know, you have to trust this person that they'll pay you that.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing, you won't know what those sales are like.
Well, one thing, if I could just interject right there, one thing that I've seen at a joint venture for an event is if people are allowed to sell from the stage, you know, as part of this JV, that there is a form, and like a triplicate, and
Yeah.
that way you get a form that shows that
Right.
he sold $5,000 worth of products, and Chris sold $5,000 worth of product. And so, you know, you get a copy, the customer gets a copy, you know, whoever buys, and then the JV, the other person in the JV gets a copy, and that way you can reconcile the 60-40 split or 70-30, whatever it is. Because if you're having, Barrett, if you're having these kinds of issues at this point, I don't know that it would be wise for you to go into it with even if you give her a contract or an agreement now, that you go into it with, well, I'm going to trust what you say you sold.
Right.
I don't know if you should do that. And then the other question, or a question I would have is, find out if this person wants out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good question.
You know, sometimes people do the whole passive aggressive thing.
Right.
Because they're not comfortable actually having a conversation, or comfortable actually saying, look, this turned out to be too much for me. I just really want to speak. And they don't know how to say that, or know how to navigate that space. So you might want to just ask the question, do you want to?
At this point, I don't even want her to speak, because I think this was unspeakable what she did.
Oh, then yeah.
Be good. It would be a goodbye, you know, and I wish you well, because I feel it was very unethical to enter into this with me and then have me spend, we're talking September, October, November. We're having me spend 3 months.
Right. Doing all the work.
Yes. So yeah, I've had it. And
Barrett, real quickly, and I pray that you'll take this in the spirit that I give it. it sounds like you have a lot of emotion surrounding this at this point. And I would encourage you to look back at any notes that you have from previous conversations when you guys started, and assess yourself and see if your expectations have somehow changed, or because at the end of the day, you can't fix another person.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to be so emotional and so frustrated until you just say, well, I'm not going to do JVs anymore, because that wouldn't be good, because you have a voice and people need to hear your voice and your message. And I don't want you to lose that. I
I'm
don't
not
want
going
people
to
to
quit. Are you kidding? My star is rising. I am not going to quit doing events.
That's good.
good.
So Barrett, I hope that you're able to take one of the suggestions that was, several women gave some suggestions. So hopefully you'll be able to take one of these suggestions with you, and that we wish you the best of luck in hoping that works.
I think I got what I needed, and that worked really well.
Thank you
so much. And tell you with men, really quick, you mentioned about men. It's really strange. I noticed that as my star rises, I'm getting a lot of men, for example, requesting my friendship on various social media sites. And I feel not good. Because in the past, the collaborations didn't work and I would get stolen from. It was terrible. I worked very well with women. In general, except for that one, that's the first time. But I work very well with women, but with men, it just doesn't. They see all this power and this talent and creativity, and they want it for themselves.
Yeah, and that's good, Barrett, that you're able to recognize that and you know what space you want to play in. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. We're at the top of the hour, KeeKee, if you want to bring us to a close.
Yay! Okay, so thank you for showing up to day 2 of the Art of Collaboration Summit. You women, this is my girl crush look. I just love you all so much. I do. So anyone listening today, if you want the replay, you came on late, you want to get the rest of it, send me and Pat an inbox, and I'm trying to send us an inbox, and we will send you the replay over. I want to thank you all for showing up and contributing. This has been fire.
Hey, and KeeKee, we want everyone to sign up for the workshop, right?
Oh,
so KeeKee,
yes.
Yeah, we are inviting you. If this is something that just really resonated with you, we want to have you part of our January 27th Art of Collaboration workshop. We're going to take all the topics that we talk about this week, and take them to a deeper level, so that when you leave, you actually have a template. You know how to have those conversations, how to vet. You might even find someone you want to work with. So KeeKee, if you would please put the link on the chat box, and if anyone enrolls in the next 24 hours, we are hosting a session on leverage, how to leverage your time, energy, and resources, and those who sign up will get to attend that private session.
Yay! Okay, so I put it in the chat box, and I want to thank everybody for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 3.
Yay! Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.